Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, yes, yes. People, look at the background. What can you see? I'm back. I'm back in the UK. The 1 week tour of the Netherlands is over. As this is being recorded, West Indies are probably in Pakistan. Lots of you messaged me being like, oh, you're going to be going to Pakistan and carrying on the content. People, listen. Everything that happened in the Netherlands, I paid for out of my own pocket, you know. No sponsorship out here. No deal with anyone to do all that content. So someone sent me a message saying, was it just you on your own doing all of the content across the whole week? Me on my ones, you know. Just me on my ones. Ladies and gents, I'm Machel St. Patrick here at one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. It's the series summary show. I don't know if it's like a third ODI summary. It kind of is that. I'm going to do a bit of player ratings as well. Quite a lot happened in that last ODI. Thank you for all the people who sent in all the well wishes and messages, etc., etc. First things first, let's get the admin out of the way. By now, you're supposed to know what I'm going to say, so let me do it quickly. If this is the first time you're following the Caribbean Cricket Podcast or listening to a video, watching a video, whatever it might be, you can find us at Carib Cricket on Twitter and on Instagram. So if Twitter's your thing, if Instagram's your thing, go and follow us. We've just broken the 1K barrier on Instagram. Some of you listening to this will be like, you've only just got 1K on Instagram. It's because we weren't taking it seriously. We only properly started taking Instagram seriously as a medium to share content maybe in the last, 6 months or so. So we've just hit 1K on Instagram. Thank you for those who have been following. Did a bit of a collab with the West Indies account during the third ODI as well. So you should have seen that. And thank you for any new followers on Instagram, Twitter. We're about 100 followers away from 10K on Twitter. So if you're watching this and you're not yet on Twitter, go and follow us on that as well. If you'd like to find out everything about the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, go to www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com. That's the main website. That's where you get the links to everything, including the link to our brand new merchandise, which is out. So do get yourself a Caribbean Cricket Podcast hoodie. They're starting to pop up all over the world. I've sent out about 8 now, I think. Sending out about 8, maybe even 10. So if you've got yourself one of the exclusive limited edition Caribbean Cricket Podcast maroon hoodies, you see me wearing them all week. Or at different points of the week during the Netherlands tour, hit me up in the DMs, send me a message, and we can sort out a price so you can get one as well. We can ship abroad. You've just got to let us know, but there is an extra fee if it's being shipped abroad. And lastly, if you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Listen, I'm going to be, I'll be honest. I worked hard in the Netherlands, and I'm not saying that because any of you told me to go and work hard. I don't mean that. But I worked hard in the Netherlands. I called it a working holiday, but it was like 90% work, 10% holiday, maybe 80-20. And so if you really would like to, if you appreciated the content we put out from the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, whether on Twitter, Instagram, all the videos that I've done, ODI 1, ODI 2, the fan videos, the player interview videos. If you've appreciated any of that, the TV commentary, if you've appreciated any of that, listen, head to patreon.com and you can show your support that way, as little as £2, $2 to whatever your currency is a month. Or if you want to just do a one-off payment, a one-off pledge to say, you know what, big up you guys, because you've been keeping it real for the West Indian fans and giving us the content when we couldn't even watch this series, and so on and so forth. Head to patreon.com/Carib Cricket and you can contribute in that way. So, ladies and gents, like I said, Machel St. Patrick here. I'm here for the final video wrapping up the Netherlands tour. Let's deal with the third ODI. No, actually, let's not deal with the third ODI. Listen, my main guy. Let me bring in Akeel Hussein.
And you're listening to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Big up Akeel for coming on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I meant to play that at the start, but big up Akeel Hussein. He decided to come on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast and tell you lot you better listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you, Akeel, for giving me that snippet. I want to start using that in lots of different things, So big up Akeel for that. So let's get into the third ODI. First things first. Let's just run through that quick. So third ODI, we finally won the toss. We decided to bat. Obviously, in the first two ODIs, we chased and we chased successfully. First one was comfortable. Second one, there was a mini collapse, 99 for 5, and then Casey Carty and Brandon King saw us home. With this one, we decided to chase and we changed the side as well. And that was the right thing to do. Anderson, Phillip, and Alzari Joseph came out as predicted, and Sherman Lewis came in for his ODI debut. The pacer from Grenada, plays for the Windward Islands. And Jayden Seals came in for his ODI debut as well. It was expected. I wasn't shocked in the slightest. I think most people thought that Seals and Lewis would get a game at some point, and if we'd already won 2 games, it made sense that they'd get a game in the third ODI. But points were still on the line, so it was a bit risky in some senses to replace 2. Well, in Alzari Joseph, a super experienced ODI pacer, Anderson Phillip, who was kind of not on debut, but newish to the scene. They'd already played the 2 games, knew the conditions. So it was a big call to drop both of them and bring in Lewis and Seals, knowing that we still had to win to get the 10 points to move us up to third in the ODI Super League standings. But other than that, the batting lineup stayed the same. Remember that Rovman and Romario Shepherd are not anymore. They should have flown to Pakistan by now. But they were stuck in London, so couldn't play in this Netherlands series and so on and so forth. So we batted first. Hope and Mayers. Oh, sorry. Mayers opened, which was interesting. Now, remember, before the series, I had said that it's going to be Mayers or King who opens, assuming that one of them would get dropped if the other one opened, or not dropped, one of them wouldn't play if the other one opened. But that was when I assumed that Rodman Powell was going to be in the squad and Romario Shepherd was going to be in the squad. For this game, we opened with Mayers, and I think that made sense. And the reason why I think they opened with Mayers is because we were batting first. Now, some of you will say, what's the difference? I think once you're batting first, you're looking to put a big score on the table. And Mayers from ball 1 was clearly out there to throw his arms and be aggressive and score runs quickly. If you're wondering why I'm saying there's a difference with Mayers opening when we're setting a target versus Mayers opening when we're chasing, when obviously Brooks opened, I think when Brooks opens, that's more about solidity and keeping wickets in the hutch. If we then have to increase the run rate and bring someone in to be explosive. So I think if that's a rationale, I kind of get it. By putting Mayers at the top when you're batting first, it's about setting intent because you want to set a big target. And Hope and Mayers put together a 50-run partnership. Hope then departed at 58. The leader got him. I think the leader got him in the second ODIs, or Delader, I should say. Delader got him in the second ODI as well. But that was fine because Mayers and Brooks then put on a 100 and I think a 185 run partnership or something like that. They took it all the way to the 40th over. Carl Mayers hit a century in the process. When Mayers eventually departed, he'd made 120 runs off 106 balls. So when Mayers went, we were 242 for 2 with 10 overs to go. And at that point, I was like, yeah, we're on for 320 here, because I just expected Shamar Brooks to kick on. Nicholas Puram joined him at the wicket and so on and so forth. But actually, in the last 10 overs, we only made, let me just look back. We made about 70. No, we only made about 65 runs in the last 10 overs. Now, you could say, okay, that's 6.5 an over. But when you're 242 for 2 and you're well set, I think you're supposed to make at least 320, at least. And we just kind of, after Mayers went, because Mayers didn't look in any trouble really and truly in his innings. He scored 8 4s and 7 6s. After Mayers went, the innings just stumbled. We never really got going again. Shamar Brooks himself got bogged down. You wouldn't have thought that Brooks was playing for a century, He slowed down massively once Mayers went. He still got to his century in the final over, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Puram came in, and Aaron Duck got him again, third time in 3 innings. LBW this time for Puram. He's in a big funk right now in terms of his ODI form. I spoke about it in the second, after the first ODI. I spoke about it after the second ODI in terms of Puram and poor shot selection. This one, he got trapped on the crease again by the spinner. I'm begging Nicholas here in the 48 hours preparation you're going to get before the first ODI versus Pakistan on Wednesday. Puram's got to do a lot of network. There's clearly something going on with his game right now. Pakistan will have taken note of that. They're probably going to target him with spinners as well. Obviously, we know that Puram's supposed to be a very good player of spin, but clearly he's not on top of his game at the moment. He's on top of his captaincy because he won 3 games. But clearly there's something wrong with his game right now, and he needs to work on that. And it's key that Puram comes good sooner rather than later, because within this batting lineup, Mayers aside, although Brandon King would say himself, but Mayers aside, we don't have that many explosive players. Well, obviously, Rodman couldn't play, Romario Shepherd couldn't play. Normally, you'd include those two in terms of power hitters as well. But if Puram doesn't come off, that's putting the side at a disadvantage. So Puram went. They were 2-5-1 for 3. Brandon Kim came in, but Van Beek got him. He edged behind to Edwards. I think he reviewed it and was given out on. He was already out, but it was confirmed on review. Then Brandon went for 10. He only lasted 12 balls. Then Akeel came in ahead of Bonner and Carty, which made total sense because they wanted quick runs. Akeel only lasted 5 balls, and he went for 3. So we went from 2-4-2 for 2 after 40 overs to 2-7-4 for 5 with 4 overs to go. So what was that? We made 30 runs in 5 overs. Again, 6 and over, but we were fumbling. We weren't making quick runs, and we should have been making quick runs. And it's an area of the game they're going to have to look at. And that's why I can see Bonner or Carty, probably Bonner, I'd imagine, taking a drop for Rovman Powell. I can see that happening for the first game versus Pakistan, because they're going to want to have some kind of explosive batsman at the back end of the innings. I don't know how they're going to get Romario in yet. I don't know who's going to hold the drop for Romario, but I can totally see Rovman Powell being the first person to get into the side, because the batting has looked a bit suspect at times with regards to taking the game away from the opposition, and that's where Rovman Powell can obviously come in. So when Akeel went, Bonner came in instead of Carty. I kind of got that for the experience purposes. And in fairness, Bonner he hit 1-4, but he basically ran a lot of 2s. So he hit 19 of 16 balls at the back end, strike rate of 119, which was actually the highest strike rate of any West Indian in the match. And eventually, in the last over, Shamar Brooks made it to his century, 101 runs of 115 balls. I think that was a touch too slow. But at the end of the day, West Indies batted the full 50 overs and they made 308 for 5. We rarely make scores over 300. And I saw a lot of negativity online from some fans saying things like, Brooks was batting for himself. He should have thrown his wicket away and gone for quick runs and so on and so forth. I don't buy into that. I hear the criticism, but I'm not buying into it, because at the end of the day, West Indies made 308 for 5. And everybody in the ground from a West Indian perspective was like, yeah, that's enough. The Netherlands aren't going to chase that. Listen, when you support a team that rarely makes over 300 in ODIs, you've got to give thanks when we make our 1-300, in the series. And yes, there's legitimate criticism of certain aspects of the innings. Puram's form, the kind of cluster of wickets that came after Mayers went, Brooks batting very slow at the back end. Yeah, there's constructive criticism to be had, but the bigger picture is better, which is that we made over 300. Now, before I continue, I should just play a couple of videos just to show you what it was like in the ground. So the first one is Carl Mayer's 50. When Carl Mayers made his century, this was the celebrations in the section of the ground that I was in. Now, as you can see from that, it was a really good video, because I think a lot of people watching on TV, whether in the Caribbean or anyone who managed to get an illegal feed were really surprised at how many West Indians had shown up to support the West Indies in this series. And that's across all 3 matches. I think by the time the match ended and I looked at like kind of like my my kind of rough figures of what I'd seen across the 3 games. Obviously, Saturday was the best attended game. There's over 3,000 surely at that game on Saturday. But when based on everybody I spoke to, I reckon 45 to 50% of the people who came to support the West Indies came from London. I think the other 45% lived in the Netherlands. People who were there, correct me in the comments below. That's my rough estimate. I think the other 45% were people who already lived in the Netherlands, and there was a lot of Guyanese based. There were a lot of people in the Netherlands. Guyanese based in the Netherlands, Trinis based in the Netherlands, Jamaicans based in the Netherlands, Bajans based in the Netherlands, Antiguans based in the Netherlands. But primarily the big 2 were the Guyanese and the Trini contingent. And that's probably across all 3 games. There was a massive there was a lot of Dominicans as well, I noticed. But I think if you had to sum it up, I think there were a lot of people from London, or sorry, from the UK, a lot of people based in the Netherlands itself who saw the West Indies as an opportunity for the diaspora to all come together. And that's what made it such a beautiful atmosphere. For those of you watching this, you've seen the video I've put up of my interview with Albert Marquez, who flew over from Trinidad for the series. A couple of people I met flew over from Antigua for the series as well. I met one guy who flew over from Guyana for the series. So listen, the Maroon fans turned up, and this is why I always say, no matter who tries to tell you that cricket is dead in the Caribbean, the fans ain't gone away. And yes, you could legitimately argue that the fan base in general was on the older side of 50, but there were some young guns in there as well. And the point is the love was real. And then actually, I just lied to you. That video I showed you was when Shamar Brooks made his century. My fault. That's when Brooks made his century. And then this video is when Carl Mayers made his century. This one's from a distance. So like I say, sorry, my apologies. So the first video was Brooks. The second video was Mayer's century. So like I say, it was a really good Caribbean flavor, Caribbean vibe, particularly on the Saturday, but throughout all 3 games, the West Indies team was actually very well supported across the 3 games in terms of the Maroon fans coming out. And before I continue, big up the West Indies players, because on that Thursday and the Saturday, they made themselves fully available to the fans. Took selfies with whoever wanted selfies, signed whatever people want signed, and didn't leave until the people got what they wanted in terms of signatures and pictures and so on and so forth. That's the type of connection that you have to build with people so that the spirit and the love for the team doesn't die. That's how you build and keep that connection and keep that tradition going of Maroon support. So big up the team and big up whoever gave them the instructions of make sure you interact properly with the fans and let them know that you actually care, that these people have turned up to support the team. So like I say, that was the West Indies innings, 308 for 5. Personally, I always felt the game was under control from that point onwards. I never thought the Dutch would be able to chase it, but I will admit that they gave it a real good go. West Indies ultimately only won the match by 20 runs. And the Dutch were probably in the game up until when would I say that I thought the Dutch? I think when O'Dowd got out with 8 overs to go. Not that I'm saying he could have won it for the Dutch, and I'll speak about that later. But when he went with 8 overs to go, I thought, you know what the Dutch had done here, because I just didn't feel that they had enough. And I felt this throughout the whole 3 games. They were good up top, but if you could get through the top 2, you always felt that the Dutch wouldn't have enough strength in depth to win games, based on whether it be setting totals or, in this case, chasing a West Indian total. But once again, big up their openers, Vikramjit Singh and Max O'Dowd once again got off to a bit of a flyer. or a very good start. They got to 98 runs before they lost their first wicket, and that was after 17 overs. It was Mayers who made the breakthrough, getting one to just nibble a little touch and cut back in on Vikramjit Singh, which took him by surprise, and he was bowled. And that was the breakthrough, because at that point, until Mayers made that breakthrough, we were looking like we might. I don't know if we're going to lose the game, but it was looking like it was going to go right down to the wire at that point. Musa Ahmed then came in, and he and O'Dowd then put on a 66-run partnership. So it wasn't like we got rid of Vikramjit Singh and then just started going through the Dutch team. Musa Ahmed came in, he made 42. And then again, it was looking at that point when he got out, it was 164 for 2 after 29 overs, and the Dutch were still on par with us. Give or take 10 runs, they were still roughly on par with us. Hayden Walsh got him LBW. Now, at that point, the Dutch sent in Bastelader, the bowler, to go and hit some quick runs. And he did, in fairness. He made 25 of 24. Some will say that's not quick runs. But in the context of the match, going over slightly over 100, it was what the Dutch needed. And that's when Akeel then started to come into his own. Akeel got rid of Bastelader. At that point, it was 206 for 3 with about 13 overs to go. Then Akeel got rid of the set batsman Max O'Dowd for 89. He bowled him, which then put the Dutch at 239 for 4. And like I said earlier in the piece, I think once O'Dowd got bowled, that's when I was like, we should be fine from here. But the game wasn't safe. Again, as with all 3 games, Akeel Hussein was the key with the ball. And across the series, Akeel took 8 wickets for 120 runs. So he took his wickets at an average of 15, an economy of 4.13. And he was named player of the series, and rightly so, because at every point in the series when we needed a crucial wicket, Akeel Hussein tended to be the go-to guy for that match. And I mean, that third ODI was his most expensive, 2 for 52 off his 10 overs. But the context of when he got his wickets, that was the key. Removing both Delader and then removing O'Dowd. O'Dowd seemed to just blow up. And what I mean by that, for those who don't understand the terminology, he got to his 50. I don't know what the run rate was when he got for his personal run rate, strike rate when he got to his 50. But his next 39 runs that he made, his strike rate was awful. And I've spoke to somebody who watches the Dutch team, and they were saying that O'Dowd struggles to kick on after he gets to 50. I don't know if that's a fitness issue, but he was set, right? But when he got out, he'd made 89 of 121 balls, a strike rate of 73. That's not good enough. Not when you're set and you've been batting from the top. And that's why I thought the Dutch lost the game when O'Dowd went, because he should have been the batter to go on and kick on up the strike rate and really take the game to the Windies. And that seems harsh. And I don't mean it to be harsh in the sense of he was still the Dutch top scorer. I mean, at the end of the day, 11 runs short of a century. But I just thought that he should have taken responsibility to kick on. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe, like I say, maybe he was gassing and he just didn't really have it in him to kick on. And I think I said this to some of the Dutch media guys. This is the difference in international cricket. We are a level above the Dutch, and that's not to be bossy. We are. We're a level above the Dutch, and when you are a level above a team, or you're playing a team that's a level above you, you've got to win those key moments. And I think if there was one defining feature of these ODIs, it's that when the Dutch needed to really win the key moments when the pressure was on, they didn't. And I think that was the difference between the two sides. We did better at pressure points, or we played better, or were able to execute better in the pressure moments than the Dutch were. And just to reiterate the significance of that, we're now going to experience that when we go to Pakistan. We're going to be put under pressure. And are we going to be able to manage the pressure when we suddenly have to go up a level? So imagine the Dutch are here, we're here, and then Pakistan are here above us. You can't even see my hand above the screen. That's the point. So how are we going to manage in the pressure points now when Pakistan put us under the pump? So anyways, O'Dowd went, and then after O'Dowd went, the Dutch still tried to have a good go at it. Edwards got 18 of 19 balls. Tasia, Nidham got 8 of 8. Logan Van Beek got 15 of 14. Peter Saylor, the captain, got 16 of 9. The Dutch gave it a good go. But basically, the problem for them was once O'Dowd went, West Indies basically just chipped away slowly but surely at the Dutch, so that by the time it got down to the last 2 overs, if I remember rightly, They needed, let me just remind myself, they needed 28. They needed, I think, about 36 of the last 2 overs, and they only had 3 wickets in hand. So the West Indies had chipped away regularly from the point of O'Dowd's dismissal. So just letting people know, Edwards was bowled, Walsh caught Lewis. Nidamanura was bowled, Seals caught Hope. He got nicked behind. Logan Van Beek was run out. So they needed about 36 of the last 2 overs, and then we got down to the last over, and Puram had somehow left the debutant Sherman Lewis to bowl the last over. I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't think it was. I think he might have got this muddled round, because if it was up to me and I'm giving someone the last over to bowl, I'm giving it to Jayden Seals, because obviously he's got the test experience. But he gave it to Sherman Lewis. But big up Sherman Lewis, because Sherman Lewis had taken tap throughout the match. But in the last over, he bowled the Netherlands out. He took the last 3 wickets for, I can't even remember how many runs. It was about 2 runs. I think he got 3 for 2 and took out the last 3 wickets. Caught and bowled Sailor, bowled Ryan Klein, and then Kingma tried to hit him for 6, and he got caught by Bonner. So in the end, Sherman Lewis is read as 3 for 67 off his 9.5 overs. So although he was expensive, 6.81 economy, he got 3 wickets and was actually the highest wicket taker for the West Indies in the match as a result. So that was good for Sherman Lewis's confidence in that regard. And ultimately, the West Indies won the match by 20 runs. Again, you look on the scorecard, you hear that teams won by 20 runs. It sounds pretty comprehensive. And in a sense, it was. I don't think we were ever really in the back end under threat of losing the game. And to bowl the Dutch out for 288 and win by 20 runs means it's relatively comprehensive. So we took the 30 points, and that's what we went to the Netherlands to do. Nothing else would have been acceptable. We had to get the 30 points. We got the job done. We took the 30 points. Are there things to work on? 100%. I've mentioned some of them in the video today. Are they things that we can, if we don't work on those things and we go to Pakistan and we play the same, will we win any games? No. The reality of the situation is this: even with Rovman and Romario joining the team in Pakistan, for us to win any games against Pakistan, we are going to have to play a flawless game. You hear what I'm saying? Flawless game. That means in the field. I thought in the field on Saturday we were poor. Mayers has an excuse because I think he actually had an injury, which is why he looked so shoddy in the field. But Brooks dropped a catch. We were poor in the field on Saturday. I thought we were poor in the field on Tuesday as well. So when I talk about Pakistan and I talk about having a flawless game, that means the ground fielding. That means the fielding in general. That means not relying on 1 or 2 batters to show up. People are going to have to play at the best of their game. And if we do, I think we can probably pull off 1 victory. I wouldn't go as far as saying we can pull off 2. I'd love to believe we could. I'd love to believe we could win all 3 games. But we are going to have to play much better cricket than we played against the Netherlands if we're going to beat Pakistan, assuming, of course, that Pakistan turn up. I mean, we've seen their squad. They've got all the big guns, Rizwan, Ralph, Shah Afridi, Baba, Hassan Ali, etc. All the names, Fakhar Zaman, all the names you expect to see are there. So you would assume that we're going to have to play some flawless cricket to beat the Pakistanis. So that's kind of a summary of the third ODI. A brief segue aside, thank you to all the people who sent in, what do I call it? Who sent in congratulations, I guess, because if you don't know, I did some commentary. So the way that story goes basically is that I was asked about, was it midway? No, it was at the beginning. So about after 15 overs, or I got like a message saying, "Are you free to do some commentary?" I said, "Yeah, no worries, let's go." And I was on the TV commentary, and lots of you saw me. Lots of you sent in pictures. I've subsequently had the kind of segment I was on. So I was on between like the 15th over and the 25th over. Someone sent it to me. The kind of segment of me on for the 10 overs, and I've put that up on the YouTube channel. So if you want to go and watch that after this video or later on at some other time, that's on there for you to go and watch. And let me know if you thought I was good. Let me know if you thought I was bad. Let me know if you thought I could have improved in some ways. Let me know. But to be honest, I can only give you my feelings about it. I didn't find it difficult, and I'm not saying that to boast. I'm not saying that to let people think that I'm ready to be a TV commentator. But I will be honest with you lot. I found it straightforward. I have done commentary before. Some of you know that I've been on like online cricket radio, so Guerrilla Cricket. I've done some commentary for them. I mean, I've gone on to Talk Sport and had that's not cricket commentary, but I've gone on to Talk Sport Radio and chatted with them. I'm very familiar and comfortable with the idea of going on radio or going on any kind of media platform and chatting about cricket. And ultimately, the reason why I'm comfortable is because I know what I'm talking about. I'm aware that some of you will listen to that guy, and this guy really rates himself. No, listen, I'll be honest. When it comes to West Indies cricket and the modern day era, as well as some of the legacy, I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to say I don't know what I'm talking about. So when they invited me on, I never at any point thought I'm going to be out of my depth here, because I knew that if we were going to discuss about West Indian cricketers, and we spoke about Carty, we spoke about King, we spoke about Puram, we spoke about Mayers, I believe that I have enough depth of knowledge straight off the top of my head. No research went into it. Remember, I only got like 2-3 minutes notice before I went on, so I wasn't researching anything. This stuff just in my head because I'm a student of the game, you know. So thank you for those who watched it. Thank you to those who said well done, etc., etc. I don't know if it'll lead to anything. You never know who's watching in this game. You never know who's watching in sport. Kind of like with the podcast, you never know who's watching. And one day somebody might watch something. They might have watched that. They may have watched that commentary stint and be like, oh, "This guy's good. He can." Who knows? Who knows? But what I do know is we will continue to do the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and we will continue to bring you the content that you, the fans, ask for, so that we can continue to reconnect with the fans and spread the love of West Indies cricket, and so on and so forth. If you'd like to see me on more TV commentary, hit up the people. Hit up the people that control those kind of levers. You know, in the UK, that's BT Sports, Sky Sports, etc. That's I don't think they're going to be inviting me on per se, but or maybe it's Talk Sport on radio. Hit up the people you think should be having me on, and you never know, people. You might see me in CPL or something random for all I know. So let's see how that goes. But lastly, and the last thing I just want to end on before I wrap up. This is already longer than I thought it was going to go. I think I should probably do some player ratings. Normally, Santoki and I would do some player ratings. Obviously, Santoki wasn't around for this series, but obviously I was there. So just some player ratings. I haven't even written these down, but I'm just going to do them straight off the top of the head, so to speak. So Shai Hope, 3 matches, 161 runs at an average of 81-100, which was the big 100 in the first game. And then I think he got like what did he get, like 18 and then 24 or something like that. So 100 strike rate, 82. Shai Hope, 8 out of 10. He got a century. He did his job. 119 not out in the first game. Back to some form of sorts, doing his classic thing at the top of the order. I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Shamar Brooks opened in 2 games, came in number 3 in the last game. 167 runs. So he was actually our highest run scorer across the 3 games. 167 runs and at an average of 84. He got 100, which was the 101 in the third ODI, and he got a 60. Was that in the first game? I think the 60 was in the first game. So 100, 150, strike rate of 84. Not too impressed with that strike rate. But he did show us with some of his 6 hitting across the 3 games that he can be a bit more explosive if he has to be. If I'm giving Hope an 8 out of 10, Brooks has to get a 9 out of 10. Because 100 and 150 across the 3 games. Come on, his maiden ODI century plus a 60 as well. Wasn't happy with some of his fielding. I just want to be constructive criticism, but I'll give him a 9 out of 10 for the 100 and 150. Nkrumah Bonner, 34 runs at an average of 17, highest score 19 not out, which was in the last ODI, strike rate 85. Bonner had a bit of a poor one, to be honest. If this is an experimentation to work out if Bonner should be in the ODI team going forward, unless he does well in Pakistan, if he even plays, because remember, Rovman's back, unless he does well in Pakistan, I suspect the Bonner experiment will end after the Pakistan series. I will, however, mention that he did bowl more overs of leg spin than than fans would have expected him to. He bowled 8 overs in total, 1 wicket for 40 runs at an economy of 5. So, I mean, there is the leg spin option there, but is primarily in the team to bat and bat deep. What can I give him? Plus the leg spin. Is it harsh to say 3.5 or is it a 4? It's a 3.5 or a 4 out of 10. Nicholas Puram, 24 runs at an average of 8, dismissed by the same player all 3 times to spin, but captained the team to 3 wins. As a player, Puram, 1 out of 10. As a captain, we won the 3 games. We did the job. Was his captaincy? Is there any constructive criticism for his captaincy? In terms of captaincy, 8 out of 10. In terms of him as an individual player, it's a 1. It might even be a 0 because he had a, you know what, Puram? 0. 0.5 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 for Puram with the bat. Brandon King, 159 runs at an average of 159. Remember, he wasn't dismissed in his first 2 games. He got a 91 not out, and the other not out was a 58 not out. So 2 50s, strike rate of 104, which is the more impressive thing. This probably has cemented his place in the side going forward. 9.5 out of 10 for Brandon King. I nearly said 10, but 9.5 out of 10 for Brandon King. Carl Mayers, 142 runs at an average of 71, 100, the big 100 that he got in the last game, 120 of 105 balls, strike rate of 106, our best strike rate across the 3 games. Remember, he only batted twice, didn't even get a chance to bat in the first game. And then with the ball, Mayers took 3 wickets at 117. Sorry, 3 wickets for 117 runs across the 3 games. An average of 39, economy of 5.08. Not that impressive with the ball. I'm sure Mayers wasn't expecting to bowl pretty much his full allocation in some of the games. I wouldn't be advising that going forwards. I'm not sure Carl Mayers should be a first change, or even in some cases, he opened the bowling. I'm not sure we should be doing that with Mayers. So they need to look at what their plans are. Again, they were hamstrung by Romario Shepherd not being there. If Romario Shepherd was in the side, then Mayers probably would have come in after Romario Shepherd. And so there would have been 3 pacers, and then you can turn to Mayers. Because of Shepherd not being able to travel, Mayers then suddenly had to play essentially a frontline seamer role, which isn't his role. That said, we can still be critical of his bowling returns, but with the bat, he did fine. Mayers, let's give him an 8 out of 10. Who's left as the batters? Carty. Carty only got to bat once. And that was, remember, we were 99 for 5 in the second innings, and then Carty and King put together a 118 run stand. And that's effectively what won us the match in the second ODI. So Carty, for his 43 runs of 66 balls, I thought he was a bit loose in the field in the first ODI. Got a bit better as time went on. International debut across this series, showed some promise with that batting. Let's give him a 7 out of 10. Let's give him a 7 out of 10 for the 43. Some will say I'm being harsh there, but he only got a 1 at bat. And those who didn't watch the match won't understand why I'm saying that it was a bit sloppy for me in the field in the first ODI. Maybe he's a 7.5 out of 10, but solid and definitely promised to work with. Akeel Hussein only got to bat once. He got 3 runs. So we don't really count. These are the only people that got to bat. So Akeel's the last person who got to bat, which was in the final ODI when he was coming in and trying to hit quick runs. He only scored 3. That doesn't matter because it's what he did with the ball. 8 wickets, 120 runs. He got his wickets at 15 apiece, an economy of 4.13. He was named player of the series for his bowling. And he's actually probably, maybe him and Hayden Walsh can fight to be the best fielder. I think he got 2 catches. Yeah, Hayden got 2 catches in the series. I'm giving Hayden Walsh a 9.5 out of 10 or a 10 because he was actually the player of the series. He's the one who got all the key strikes in terms of wickets. And then we look at the bowlers. Alzari Joseph, 2 matches, 3 wickets for 66, 22 apiece, the best economy, 3.88. Alzari Joseph just did what Alzari Joseph does in ODI cricket. We know that he's basically a banker in white ball cricket for us, particularly ODI cricket. So Alzari did what he needed to. I would have liked to see more wickets up front, but the wickets that they were batting on were very true wickets. So it was hard to claim wickets up front, but he did his job, particularly with that economy 3.88. So Alzari, that's an 8 out of 10. I just would have liked to see more wickets. Hayden Walsh, 4 wickets, 141 runs. He got his 4 wickets at 35 apiece. But what was more impressive was his economy of 4.86. Hayden bowled better than those figures suggest. I'm going to give him 7.5 out of 10, only because as raw figures, it doesn't read that good. 4 wickets at 35 apiece. The economy, like I say, is very good, 4.86. But like, you had to be up close and personal to understand why I'm saying Hayden bowled much better than those figures suggest. So I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. Jayden Seals, Anderson Phillip, 2 wickets for 99. His 2 wickets came at 50. Economy of 6. First match, he was poor. He got taken for licks in that first match. Second match, he bowled much better, much tighter lines, bowled to his field better. The big question mark is Anderson Phillip ready for international cricket? I still think that when we play the Test versus Bangladesh, that Anderson Phillip's going to be the one deputising for Kumar Roach. And if Shannon Gabriel doesn't get into the squad, I genuinely think that Anderson Phillip is going to be bowling for us against Bangladesh in the Test series. If that is the case, I'm slightly concerned because I think some of his bowling against the Netherlands was erratic. That said, I think if Anderson had got the third game, I think he would have improved further still. So he was poor in the first game, okay in the second one. Maybe he would have been very good in the final one, or good in the final one. We won't know. But overall, it's a poor return with the ball. 5 out of 10, maybe 4.5 out of 10. Jayden Seals played the one match, the final match, 1 for 59. Obviously, economy 5.9. Again, international debut for Jayden Seals. So that was that last match for me. That's just a learning experience for Jayden Seals. You can't say too much more than, well, there's a learning experience. He got taken for 59. It was on a true batting wicket. West Indies scored 308. Netherlands scored 288. So there was a lot of runs on that deck. He's young. He's learning the game. But he would have liked to have gone for under 50. So we give Jayden a 5.5. And then Sherman Lewis, 3 for 67 in his debut, 22 apiece, economy 6.81. Without those 3 wickets in the final over, Sherman had gone for licks. Had he bowled badly? He didn't bowl as badly as Anderson Phillip bowled in his first game. But at the same time, the Dutch batters took a liking to Sherman Lewis. So I thought it was a very big call from Nicholas Puram to say, right, final 4 overs, I'm going to Seals and I'm going to Lewis, and they're going to bowl us to victory. And ultimately, you can only judge a bowler on what they actually do. And in the final over, Lewis took 3 wickets for 2 runs and bowled the Dutch side out. Arguably, that's all that matters. Like I said, it was a caught and bowl, a bowl, and then the last guy kind of basically tried to go for 6 and got caught. Are those cheap wickets? I don't agree with this notion of cheap wickets. I just agree with, did you take some wickets? And he took the wickets at the back end, and that will do him the world of good. I don't know if he'll get a game versus Pakistan. I doubt it, because Romario will be back. I doubt it. But if this is his only game across the 6, he can take some confidence away with those 3 wickets at the end to close out the game and ensure the West Indies won by 20 runs. So for those 3 wickets at the back end, I'm giving him a 6.5 for his debut performance. Like I say, people, that this video's gone much longer than I wanted to, probably because it's kind of summing up the whole series as a whole. As usual, press subscribe, press like, follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Get in the comments below. You'll probably disagree with the player ratings I just gave, but get in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the performance across the 3 series. We've got some content coming out in collaboration with some of the Pakistan cricket channels. So if you're waiting to see, where's your video for who you think should play versus Pakistan, I'll do it. But I'm aware of the fact that I'm doing some collab videos with some other people, so I'll probably talk about that in those videos as well. But if I had to give you a quick snippet, If Rovman is fit and ready, he's obviously been training in London whilst waiting to fly to Pakistan. If he's fit and ready, Rovman comes straight into the side. And for me, Nkrumah Bonner probably comes out. I haven't yet worked out how Romario Shepherd gets in the side. We can't go against Pakistan where we just have 5 bowlers. That's the only thing I do know. So however they do the makeup of the side, there has to be a 6th bowling option in case one of our 5 goes for licks. And based on the fact we're playing Pakistan, one of our 5 is going to go for licks. So there has to be a proper 6th bowling option. If you put me to the wall and said, make a decision, Bonner probably takes a drop and Carty probably takes a drop. Rovman comes in and Romario Shepherd comes in. And then you probably revert back to your first 2 bowlers again, which would be Alzari Joseph and Anderson Phillip. But like I say, get in the comments below. You don't have to agree with me. I've been Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. This has been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.